Welcome to the Real Estate Rundown. We have some exciting topics to discuss today, and I just want to share with you before we get started. Zoodealio has a new product offering. It's called Seller Source, and we have been asked by our members for, oh my goodness, years. now to begged to please generate cash offer leads for us. We've been listening, we heard you, and now we're delivering. So we have a new product offering where we are delivering fresh cash offer leads to our members throughout the U.S. We have needs throughout the U.S. and almost every state we're fulfilling these cash offer leads. And of course, certain states have more demand than others. So if you're interested in our newest offering, please drop us a line. You can go to support@zoodealio.com, go to zoodealio.com, or leave a comment here and we will be sure to get back with you with the details on that. So just wanted to let you know it's really exciting, something we've been working on for a while.
Well, and I think Chris can post the link too if somebody wants to register, right? Be easy enough.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're interested, we are doing 3 exclusive webinars over the course of the next few days. And so we'll post that link in the comments and you can hop on one of the webinars and learn more.
Awesome. So, it's been a busy week, right? With all the things going on.
Been insane.
The inauguration, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that little thing called the inauguration.
Yes. And speaking of real estate, Mark Zuckerberg was checking out Bezos' real estate at the inauguration. Right?
I found that funny how, everybody
the
went
memes
off
are
on
off
that.
the hook.
Okay, wait. Well, so wait, for if you haven't heard what happened, essentially, I don't think it was purposeful, but Jeff
Bezos' girlfriend was wearing a bra.
Fiance.
Basically wearing a bra. Right.
Lauren Sanchez. She was wearing, it was a really pretty white blazer, but underneath it was a lacy little bra. And
It was classy looking, but revealing.
Zuck happened to just glance down, and I don't think he was checking it out. I just think he happened to glance down.
I think he happened to go is she wearing she's wearing a bra. She didn't have a shirt on.
Well, think about the power of a photo, because it literally is a microcosm of time, and it's frozen in time.
Exactly.
So there's times that you're looking, you could almost be seen like you're looking, but you're not really looking. Like your eyes go in a direction and you're not really taking in the information. However, the lookers are going to be like, oh, you're doing that and you're not really doing that.
Exactly.
I mean,
I think that's what happened.
You have peripheral vision, right? So if you see lace down there, you're like, what the heck is she not wearing a t-shirt, like a shirt, So I think maybe that's probably what was going on.
It sure took Twitter by storm.
It was prime real estate. He was checking out some prime real estate.
Yes.
Well, that and a whole lot of other things happened over the course of the past few days. I think one thing that is, I feel like, interesting to me is Trump did pardon Ross Ulbricht, and he was the creator of Silk Road. He said during his campaigning that he was going to pardon him. And so for those of you that may not know, Ross created Silk Road, which was basically a decentralized platform. And unfortunately, a lot of people used it to buy drugs and do illegal things. And so, the use case of it ended up being quite nefarious. But, Ross himself wasn't the one out there dealing drugs. And he got 2 life sentences for creating and facilitating this underground marketplace. And something that, I found to be insane was that, you guys remember El Chapo?
Yes. El Chapo. Yes. He's like the guy, he was chopping people's heads off, right? In Mexican cartel?
Yeah, yes. The cartel guy.
Yeah.
He only received a 30-year sentence for his criminal activities.
Well.
And so I just thought it was insane, and I for one,
the crime didn't fit the punishment.
Yeah, that was crazy. Well, I think there was a lot of people.
The punishment didn't fit the crime. Let me
promised the Bitcoin community that he would free Ross day one, and he did.
He did. Yeah. Well, it wasn't day one.
It was day.
Well, I mean,
a lot of people. It was one-ish, I think.
So on the news of that, I was thinking that Bitcoin would pump a little. It didn't on the news of that. But there was some news today. Larry Fink said that if other ETFs allocated 2 to 5% of their assets under management to Bitcoin, we could see Bitcoin price go up to $700,000.
Which is crazy.
In the near future.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
It's crazy how many CEOs of BlackRock, Larry Fink, I read something just this morning about Bank of America I don't remember if it was the CEO, but somebody in the, leader said that essentially that if some of the SEC filings and, happen to get through that they get approved to where they can custody crypto, like the amount of big banks that would jump in on it instantly would just be insane.
Yeah, it was Brian Moynihan. Yes,
Okay.
he did. The CEO of Bank of America. He did say that. He said that it's going to be pretty crazy, and I think it's going to happen. It's as soon as banks are going to be able to custody it, now you're going to be able to leverage off it, get loans off of it, and then no one's going to want to sell it. So if you don't want to sell it, that means there's going to be a supply shock. And I mean, why would you sell it if all you got to do is go, here, Bank of America, I need $10,000. Here's $10,000 of Bitcoin. Give me my $10,000. Now I go spend my $10,000, have a loan, pay it off. I still have my Bitcoin.
I mean, for it seems like years we've been talking about products that will emerge where you'll be able to collateralize your Bitcoin to, buy a home and that sort of thing. And I think it's going to be, it's happening. I'm seeing more of it, learning more about people that are doing it, companies that are doing it. And so that's going to be really interesting to keep an eye on. But let's shift to maybe some of the real estate related things that have happened since the administration turned. So Trump issued an executive order on affordable housing. Mm-hmm. So he issues this executive order basically saying that we need pricing housing relief. Mm-hmm. Well, too expensive.
Yeah, and then didn't it, like, the way it all simplifies is it basically saying like it will adjust the pricing, the effective income of it by almost like $11,000. Like it'll make it more affordable for each family by like $11,000.
So these like permits.
I think it's attacking new home construction and maybe some of the red tape and the regulations and costs around that.
So when a builder builds a new home, they have these impact fees and
there's a bunch of
all
fees
these different fees that they have to pay to build a new home. So this is what it's going to do. It's going to attack some of these fees and some of these regulations that are in place, so builders can either pocket the money themselves
or pass
it along. So I guess depending, and I mean, obviously it's supply and demand. So if the demand goes up, then they don't have to pass along the savings. But
do you guys want me to read what so it was the delivering emergency price relief for American families and defeating the cost of living crisis.
That's a long one.
Executive order. So essentially, it is a long one. Essentially, this is what it shall include. It said to lower the cost of housing and expand housing supply, eliminate unnecessary administrative expenses and rent-seeking practices that increase healthcare costs, eliminate counterproductive requirements that raise the cost of home appliances, create employment opportunities for American workers, including drawing discouraged workers into the labor force, and eliminate harmful coercive climate policies that increase the cost of food and fuel.
Okay.
So,
that's broad, actually.
It is broad.
It's
and
broad.
This relief, I mean, it's not just housing, it's cost of living in general, but who knows?
That's where that $11,000.
I would like to hear some
of relief.
Some actual hey, this is what
actionable
happened.
things.
Well,
that
I guess
they're going
with
to do.
the appliances, they're making
That's tangible.
There's all these appliance regulations. You got to do this. It's got to have this much energy, this much, and so they're constantly raising the bar on these appliances, and they have to continue creating new appliances and figuring out how they're going to make them more energy efficient. So if they can just stop doing that and just start, making appliances instead of
I just don't know how this
making them more efficient.
I just don't know how this really helps housing specifically. I don't see it. If you have any thoughts or comments, please.
I think it's just a compounding effect of all sorts of different things. But how is it really gonna change the price of housing that quick? I mean, maybe over
the course of months.
That sounds like a really
5
long
years
play.
or something, yeah.
Honestly,
it does. Yeah. So I I'd like to see more. I definitely would like to see more for housing, because we know that this is something that's, it's just been near and dear to our hearts, and seeing affordability where it's at is definitely something that we struggle with, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny how quick I think people are trying to capture headlines right now, right? I mean, it's all about, attention is the new currency.
Yeah.
And so, like, for example, one of the things, lowers mortgage rates. And then we just looked it up. That lasted about 12 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The treasury yields did come down, but then they kind of went back up. And so they're just kind of bouncing. And we know that mortgage interest rates, correlate to the treasury yield. So, we're watching that to see what happens. I think when he initially issued some of the tariffs, the yields went down.
Yeah, the effect.
Yeah. So,
but he hasn't even issued tariffs yet. It's just threats of tariffs, right?
It's threats.
Yeah. So even just a threat of tariff will move markets, which is interesting.
Yeah. Definitely interesting. We also know that, he has created Stargate. And I was on Google and looking at what's trending, and Stargate is definitely Google trending right now. It's, I believe, number 2 in Google trending. And so everybody's wanting to know, what is Stargate AI? What does that mean? And let's be real, like, the amount of money that they're saying they're going to pour into creating Stargate AI is staggering. It's a ton of money. And we've got some of the biggest players in AI. I mean, Sam Altman, Larry.
I thought that was cool that Sam was a part of the delivery of the message.
Yeah. I was surprised when I was like, I think actually Jason was like, is that Sam Altman?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Mayoshi Son, who is SoftBank, essentially. Mm-hmm. And so you have these very powerful billionaires that are coming together and creating, and the things that they're saying that they're going to create with Stargate AI, like the vaccine that would be tailored, the mRNA vaccine that would be tailored specifically to an individual's body. That sounds a little scary. The things, and I wonder how RFK feels about that.
I do too, and especially because the other part of that too is like privacy, right? Because in order to do that, it's almost gonna have to have like your DNA, I would assume, or some, right? Something.
Well, if you have cancer, you got some sort of disease that's gonna kill you. You're probably gonna
be willing to give up.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't think it's like I don't think they, you don't have to like go, hey, we're gonna be part of the system. Here's my DNA. But it's some pretty wild stuff. And
so let's pivot though to housing, because you were sharing with me that they're going to build a lot in Texas, for instance, right?
Yeah, there's supposed to be these AI buildings or whatever that basically has all the servers.
Yeah, the server housing.
AI.
Because it requires a ridiculous amount of
energy and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're building them in Abilene, Texas, where they said they're starting to build in Abilene, Texas, and it's going to be like 30 buildings, these big giant buildings. So
a lot of money potentially.
Real estate tip.
Yes, exactly. And so Abilene is it's about an hour and a half
west of
Dallas. Fort Worth.
Yeah, Dallas, Fort Worth.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I've definitely,
and what we know about the Texas market is, like Dallas is struggling, right? There's a lot of inventory, a lot of price reductions, and not a ton of pending home sales. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering how some of this news is going to impact those markets that, may directly benefit from Stargate.
Definitely maybe some of the landowners there. I'm sure, I would imagine that a lot of that stuff is already pre-constructed or laid out to, hey, this is where all the industry buildings are going to be, kind of like where we live over by East Mark. And
so then maybe the benefits already been they've already reaped the reward.
Well, maybe not the jobs. I think they're starting to build. So you're going to have construction jobs, and they're going to have to run these plants or whatever they are. I don't even know what they are. My dumb brain. It's like, okay, buildings in Abilene, Texas, 20, 30 of them,
Yeah.
So what does AI take? They take servers. So it's their big server.
Yeah. It has to. It has to have the ability to the computing power.
So they're giant buildings of computers.
They're server racks, right? So yes, like the things you see in the movies, like the rows of things. And part of one of the things that people don't know on that is those things run crazy hot. So that's where like the cooling and the power and all those things, like going back to the Matrix and, kind of comes from is literally the requirement of the power that they require. And the majority of them is to obviously run, but also keep them cool so they don't overheat.
Yeah, cool. I just find it fascinating to see what that ripple effect will be, especially in, places like Abilene, Texas, and the surrounding areas.
Well, the Gulf of America, they're going to be starting drilling in the Gulf of America.
That's a big one, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
drill, baby, drill.
Yeah. So I think that could help a lot with housing. And I just think making energy cheaper, it reduces the prices of wood and all materials. So we'll see if that happens and how fast it happens. But oil has been going down.
Well, I think, Elliot, you had some news on home prices. You were talking about how Redfin came out with a report, and do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it was just a quick little excerpt that Redfin had found that home prices have gone down 5.4% in 2020, or excuse me, only increased 5.4% in 24, and the growth is expected to be the same in same-ish in 25, and it's actually only been that low since 2013.
Wait, appreciation?
Yeah.
No. Oh, 5.4%, which is actually super solid.
I know. That's I didn't think it was that low, but I think what it's saying is we've been on such an uptick since 2013. Yeah. It's finally curtailing a little bit, and it's expected to basically, kind of equal that in 25.
Well, it's following inflation. As inflation's dropping, then our appreciation is dropping.
Well, right. Lance Lambert came out with some data on home prices in of the biggest metros, price declines since 2022. And the top 5 biggest metros with the largest decreases in home prices. Let's see. Boise City, Idaho was number 5. Punta Gorda, Florida was number 4 at 14.7%. New Orleans was number 3 at 15.3%. Lake Charles, Louisiana was number 2 at 15.6%. And Austin, Texas was number 1 at 22.7%. But here's what's interesting though. Phoenix would have been number 6. Phoenix we had a decline of 9.2% since 2022, since our peak. So to hear that Redfin's bemoaning we've only had a 5.4%.
There's some cities that have really had a downturn.
Exactly. And so, you take that and you average it all out.
Yeah.
5.4% is actually pretty fantastic.
I'm actually surprised Florida's not more on there, just because of all the hurricanes and the catastrophes that have gone on. And
yeah.
Speaking of New Orleans, did you guys see that that somebody they were skiing on
the French Quarter? And
I didn't know they had snow there.
You didn't see that?
Well, it basically doesn't snow there.
Florida.
That's why they were posting it. So it's obviously a crazy weather alert, or however you want to put that, all over the East Coast, down into, the panhandle of Florida, like you said, got snow, which is
very unusual.
Yeah, very unusual.
Very, very unusual.
Meanwhile, our north has seen hardly any snow.
Yeah.
I know. Hardly any snow in Arizona here.
It's been kind of cold in the Phoenix area the past couple days, though.
It's been cold, but last year we got hammered with snow, and now it's going to skip a year.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so what, as we get all of this, shift and changing, and it's almost, to me, it almost kind of seems like there's the feeling of it all is like the breath before the storm. At least maybe I'm being an optimist here, but I think that there's just still a lot of big shifts that are unfolding. I mean, and as we're here, it's only a couple of days post inauguration, and I think that the vibe for a lot of things definitely seems to just be getting ready.
Very optimistic. A lot of different executive orders. We'll see how it shakes out, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
See what happens. See you next month.
Speaking about getting ready, this real estate agent is massively getting ready because they're wondering if their appearance impacts their sales. So this was posted in the real estate thread in Reddit, and essentially The poster says that, okay, so I have red hair, it's dyed, and face piercings, but I was wondering if it's okay to have dyed hair in this profession. I'd obviously not put clear piercings in, or I would obviously put clear piercings in or just leave them out. I also have a dermal. What's a dermal?
I know, what is a dermal?
I might have to Google that.
Oh,
The
it's
piercing in the cheek?
piercing in the face.
Okay. So I
It's
also
like an
have a
ornament
dermal.
on your face.
So I'm just wondering if I should remove all of these altercations I've done completely, or could I still be professional and maintain some of them? So this person is definitely in that analysis paralysis state of, am I good enough as I am? Do I need to alter my appearance in order to sell real estate? Let's roundtable it.
I say just become the dermal agent. Right?
The dermal.
Double down.
I mean, I've
own
seen
it.
so
Down.
many agents, exactly. They own their little sector of like, hey, I'm super tattooed. I'm going to be the tattoo real estate agent, or, those types of things. I think that having a niche audience always has power. I mean, that's my immediate. And I also think that there's no question if that's the appearance that you take on and you're trying to apply yourself to the masses, the people that don't resonate with said tattoo, said piercings, or that style, they are going to prejudge you.
Yeah, you have to be yourself too, because I think people are also going to judge you if you're not being yourself.
For sure.
So, if that's who you are and you like your dermals and your piercings and your red hair, be it. And there's other people that like that too. So
Agreed.
They'll
Be
work
yourself.
with you.
Yeah. Let your freak flag fly. Your vibe attracts your tribe. Like I could go on and on this.
Yep.
I will say though, like looking back to when we first started real estate,
I had red hair and a dermal.
he did not. No,
You drew it on.
we actually, I think that maybe it was compensating because we were really young, and I had this limiting belief that because I was really young, people wouldn't take me seriously. So I overcompensated with how I dressed, and I dressed like super professionally.
Yeah.
And you did too. I mean, you would wear suits, and I mean, it was just like crazy.
I think that was the time though, right? Because
You think?
I do. And because I definitely did the same thing. And I mean, even though Arizona here was more chill than a lot of places, but I think a lot of places are still very much so show up to show properties, and maybe not suit and tie, but they're dressed nicer than they are in Arizona in a lot of places, I would say.
Well, Arizona's so hot. So when you wear a suit in Arizona, it is not fun. It is hot. You're sweating, and there's especially in the summertime. I mean, there's no way you're going to wear a suit.
No.
I mean, I dare you, because you will look like a wreck in front of your client.
Yeah, you'll look wet.
Unless you're just running into the house, but you're trying to look for the lockbox, and it's 110 degrees out, and within a second, man, you're sweating like profusely.
Or you're like putting up open house signs. In fact, there's like a strategy, like you either bring an outfit to change into, or you hire someone to put your open house signs out because it gets so hot. Okay, but it's not constantly 110 in Arizona. That is literally just like a portion of the time. I will
About
say
100
though
days.
that there have been studies that have shown there is a link between how well you dress and how well you're paid.
Yeah.
So the dress for success thing, it's a thing.
Real.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, and I mean, so not just based on dress. I think it's your overall appearance and your overall vibe. I think that, so like what Jay was talking about, when you own it, you vibrate differently, and I think that you look more powerful, you look more confident, you feel more confident. Like just like I think we all have a really high BS meter when you're talking to somebody, and you're like, that's BS. I mean, more times than not always, but I think a lot of times you're right. And if you can be confident in what you're doing, what you're selling, your position, and how you're going to help out your client, then at the end of the day, the result is really that you can create for your client is what matters most.
So what if you unknowingly bought a meth house?
Oh, geez.
Would that be
Well, yeah, I would not want to know that.
Well, let's get
okay,
into that one
that's
though real quick,
interesting
because it can get into the sheetrock and stuff.
Exactly, and it can make you sick.
Yeah.
So when I sold homes for Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, HUD, we had certain criteria that if a home appeared to have been a cooking lab is
if there was a meth rock on the ground.
So we had ways to term it, but in any event, there were definitely remediation efforts that were made in those circumstances, because it is very dangerous to live in a home where someone has cooked meth. So this person took to Reddit and said that they unknowingly bought a meth house. They discovered that the house they bought last year has high contamination levels of meth. The seller was a flipper who worked with the Contaminated Properties Foreclosure Bank. The seller did not disclose that there were any issues with the property, even though the neighbor said they told the flipper and the representing realtor that this was a meth house and to use extreme caution with anybody working on the house. Does anyone have experience with legal action in this situation? Quotes from our certified decontamination specialists are coming in close to $200,000.
Wow. Ooh.
Yikes.
I wish I knew where the house was.
Washington.
If a neighbor comes to you and says that was a meth house, how do you know it was a meth house? I mean, did they know?
Oh, the neighbors always know.
Yeah, well, did they bust the person, arrest them?
Yeah, I mean, if there's like some sort of police report where there was actually a meth house, but then, I don't know. I mean, because a neighbor can tell you anything.
That $200,000 remediation. I mean, that sounds a little crazy to me. But I mean, if it's in the studs and you're gonna have to literally change this, go in and like deal with all that far past the drywall. Ay.
Mm-hmm. I think the really sad thing about this is if there was a non-disclosure issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you're required to. I'm totally drawing a blank. You are required to disclose that.
Yeah,
right? I don't know if it is in Washington.
State by state. I know in Arizona, absolutely.
The flipper would just have to say, "Hey, the neighbor told me it was a meth house." I don't know.
I'm not sure.
We haven't done any,
remediations
or testings. I mean,
well. And out of curiosity in this too, which it doesn't say in the article, but to your point, like what you were saying before, is I wonder if they're experiencing being sick or, those types of things. Because if not, then the house is just fine, then you don't need to technically get it remediated. Yeah.
Maybe you're just really hyper sometimes.
Yeah, they're just up cleaning every night till 3 a.m. and they don't know why. No, but like kidding aside, I would not want to live in a home that had meth contamination. Absolutely not. And I would be furious if I purchased a home and that was.
But when you smell that,
I think that the takeaway is if you're purchasing a home, you have an inspection period, and typically it's 10 to like 20 days. And during that inspection period, you need to do all of your due diligence. You need to have all of the inspections. If you're concerned about anything, if it's a flip, get extra inspections. I mean, do a sewer scope, like do test for contamination, do test for mold, do test for, radon gas. If there's a septic or a well, test those. Do a home inspection, do a roof inspection. You really have to do a great job at investigating the home. It's buyer beware, right? You need to use that time to super investigate that home.
That is fantastic advice. The only thought I have on that that I think puts the buyer on the struggle bus is if you go through, depending on when they bought this house, is you go through the markets like we've been through the last couple of years. It's really hard because that puts you in a less position of negotiation. When there's houses out there that are, not as many properties, pricing, et cetera, it just creates more and more challenge. But it absolutely sucks when there's a failure to disclose, which is why, again, what's the legal action? Because now that they're in this position, it turns into a crappy situation. So my advice to sellers out there is disclose, right? Like when in doubt, disclose.
Absolutely. Yeah. If it's going to be a problem for them when you disclose it, trust me, it's going to be more of a problem when they find 100%. Out later.
You think that you're going to get out of jail card now because they're just going to buy the house and no big deal and not know about it. It almost always washes out.
But do you think a meth head or a cooker would actually disclose though? I mean, they're not going to disclose anything.
No, this was a flipper and the neighbor told the flipper and the flipper didn't tell the new buyer.
Okay. Yeah.
And, I could see how a flipper would be like, hey, I don't know. This neighbor just said something. I don't know if what the neighbor told me was accurate or not. But even in that event, like, hey, this is what I heard. I'm just passing it along. You can do your due diligence.
But a lot of flippers, they got like, they're trying to make $10,000, on this flip and
shoot more than that. And, that's nothing.
They find out after the fact if they buy it. I mean, maybe if they bought it before, man, it's a tough. Very tough.
It's a tough one.
Very tough.
It is definitely a tough one because like profit margins are razor thin for home flippers. And so it's,
especially now.
As I say, in today's era,
right.
especially.
And and sometimes I think that flippers get a bad rap. I know that there are terrible ones, but there are also really good ones. And there are
majority
times,
of them are
good. When, maybe an individual couldn't have purchased a home and brought it up to like a good condition, but a house flipper could. And so I do see a need for good home flipping in the real estate community. And I think that sometimes the bad flippers give the good ones a bad name.
Yeah, absolutely. Home flippers, like, to me, they're uplifting the community. A lot of times they're increasing equity. They're bringing in a higher vibe into the to the neighborhood, because again, higher prices, higher income, higher vibration of people. Not always, but most of the case, most of the time.
Yeah, I like that.
So
I like the way you put that.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. If you are one of the listeners that regular listens, but you're not subscribed yet to our channel, please hit the subscribe button and subscribe. We'd appreciate it. Give us a like, leave us a comment, and ring that notification bell so you get updated on our new episodes.